Welcome to episode 5 of the UMary Coaches Show. I'm Dan Darty, the voice of the Marauders, and this week we are talking to UMary Football head coach Shann Schillinger. Shann is in his second year leading the football team after assistant coaching jobs in Montana, Nebraska, and Dickinson State. Before that, he was in the NFL for a couple of seasons, playing for both the Falcons and the Titans after a standout career in Montana in college for the University of Montana. UMary Football has 2 games left, and they are coming off a 15-6 win over Southwest Minnesota State, a hard-nosed, low-scoring game that Coach Schillinger loves. You'll find out why he loves those type of games and more. So without further ado, here is Coach Shann Schillinger. Joining us now on the UMary Coaches Show is the head coach of UMary Football, Shann Schillinger. And Shann, first I'd like to go through the background of our coaches. And, not many players from Montana make it to the NFL. So when was it that you realized that you can do this at a higher level?
Well, Danny, appreciate you having me. It's a good question. I was fortunate to be surrounded by a lot of good players and coaches at the University of Montana, and there was and we won a lot of games, and that always helps. And when you win games, that usually draws some attention from the NFL scouts, and there had been a lot of good players before me that had gone off and had good runs in the National Football League. And so the combination of guys before me going and doing well and winning games and being around, a lot of good coaches, it kind of opened up some doors, and that's kind of how it got started.
And then you have a couple of years of the Falcons under Coach Mike Smith, who was successful for a really long time as a coordinator and a head coach. So what things were you able to draw from his coaching style that you can apply, today? Yeah,
Coach Smith was an awesome coach. Had a great balance of pushing guys and being a player's coach. Appreciated his approach every day, how he came in the building, and just solid, consistent, very thoughtful and detailed guy. And Coach Smith is one of my favorites, and obviously one of the winningest coaches in Atlanta Falcons history. And as you mentioned, whether he's a coordinator or head coach, he just got it. And but no, I always appreciated his approach and how he did things, and just consistent, never panic, always very thorough in his preparation every game. I think we were very thorough, and we always had a plan when we went and took the field. And it was, some games, offense, we're going to have to score 30 to win, and sometimes defense, you got to hold them to 10 because they're going to be hard to get to score more than that. And I always thought that approach was good. And sometimes guys don't want to hear that, hey, we're only going to score 13 points. And but he always thought that was what it took to win. And he was always honest and transparent with the game plan, and I always appreciated that.
And what other experiences from the NFL have stuck with you?
A lot of I got just the players that I met, teammates I met, the relationships that you build is awesome. The coaches, played in a lot of cool stadiums, and I was fortunate when I was in Atlanta. We 3 to 4 years we were in the playoffs, and 2 to 3 years we were won the NFC South. So we had some good teams, and so I got to play in a lot of big games. When you have good teams, you get some primetime games. You play in, the games are bigger when you're in primetime, and so those are all cool moments. And then the amount of ball you learn, you just learn a ton of football. Going through one NFL training camp, whether it's in the special teams or defense, you learn so much. And to go through 4 or 5 training camps, you learn a lot of football, and those are really, really valuable moments.
And after those couple of years, you could go back to the collegiate level and coach at Nebraska and Montana. When was it that you wanted to make that jump, or knew you were ready to make that jump to being a head coach?
It's I had a position coach in Atlanta tell me this, and he goes, when you're as a player, always prepare that you want to coach. Think like a coach. And then when you're a position coach, think like a coordinator. When you're a coordinator, think like a head coach. And so I kind of always had that approach. There's certain things that are awesome about being a head coach. There's certain things that, sometimes you don't love, but I do love the part of managing a football game and especially where we live, you're going to always have elements that come into play, and it's a little easier in a dome, but managing the game, managing when to go for it, when to punt, when to, when to take timeouts, all that stuff. I grew up around it, and I enjoy that part of it. And so it always intrigued me. I always loved that part of the game. And in order to get to have some say in that, you kind of got to be a head coach. And so yeah.
Excellent. And now you're here in North Dakota. You're building this program, and then that's not an overnight project. So what goes into like putting those pieces together to get this program to where you want it to be?
Yeah, it's I think consistency and don't panic. Obviously, we haven't had a crazy amount of success. That's not that's not obviously people kind of know that, but we've. So you got to be the same person every day. Come in and have a good attitude and work and so the players know what they're getting. But yeah, I've it takes a lot of work and we've done. What's frustrating is we have taken strides, but sometimes you don't see the result. And I know that's how it goes in this game. This game is a very humbling game and. But we've improved in some areas and we've gotten better in some areas and then we haven't in some areas, and so we're identifying those as a staff where we got to do better. And but yeah, we got a lot of work to do. It's going to take a lot of work, and I look forward to the challenge and I appreciate the administration. We got to have some time. It's going to take time, and but we're taking strides. I do think our effort level has gone up and been more consistent. Defensively, we have created more turnovers. We've done things there. We're on pace to give up the fewest points in, I think, 13 years in school. So we're doing some better things. We just got to kind of put it all together, and I know that's easier said than done.
And one thing that makes football different from other programs here is the amount of coaches that there are. You got 10 coaches on the staff here. So how do you make sure there's a consistent message through all those voices?
Yeah, and I think part of it is you got to let them be them. I don't like to micromanage. I want them to – they're here for a reason because I believe in them, and I want them to be able to coach and not have to worry about everything they say. Am I questioning and this or that? The main message they're going to hear from me is I want our as a coach, we can't ask our players to do things that they're not capable of doing, and they all hear that message is don't ask guys to go out and do stuff that's not realistic for them to do. And then the other thing is to preach effort and toughness and coach it when we're not playing hard. Show them when we are. We should always be, showing plays where we're more physical, when we're not. Football's a tough game. Tough guys win, and we need to make sure that our players see that. And so those are really the messages I hear, and obviously adjustments that I think we can do or I'll bring to the table. But you hire guys to let them coach, and I've got a lot of guys who I really trust and know they have the best interest for the program.
And it's also a really big roster as well, in addition to the big coaching staff. So what's the key to making sure everyone knows their role and is happy in that role?
That's a great question, Danny. And the other thing about roles is we tell our guys your role can change at any given day, for good or bad. And when you walk in the door, drop your ego and accept it. You might go from the starting quarterback to third-string quarterback. You might be a most target receiver to now not. That's just how it is. But there's a quote that Bill Belichick says is that good football players do what's best for the team, not always for themselves. And that's I agree with that. Your role might change, but that's what's best for the team. Then you should embrace it and buy it. And I always say this is at the end of your career, it doesn't matter. I look back to all the great players I played with. I don't know how many touchdowns so-and-so had. I don't know how many tackles they had. I remember they were a good teammate and they worked hard and they would do what's best for the team. And so that's the message I always echo to our players is, don't worry about what you get for yourself. Be a great teammate, work hard, fight through injury, put your body on the line for your brothers next to you. And if you do that, at the end of the day, at the end of your career, you'll look back and people will respect the heck out of you. And that's really what matters.
And what is it about football that makes it a personality building sport? It's humbling. You can go out and get your butt kicked a few times. That's a good question. It's just such a great game. There's the shared joy you get in football with your teammates is unlike anything you'll have in the real world.
and shared misery as well. When you lose, you share it with your brothers, and that feeling is things that you remember those moments. But Tom Brady talked about, you heard his talk about how you get your butt kicked and you put your pads on the next day, and just to get another opportunity, and it's hot, and it just creates toughness. Football's hard. It's really hard, and I got a saying up there: football is hard, and tough guys make it, and you want guys who can do that. So, but yeah.
And, as far as team management goes, the transfer portal has been getting more popular as the years go on, and you haven't shied away from it, brought in a couple guys this year. But what's the key to balancing the transfer portal, bringing guys into recruiting high schoolers and making sure that comes together as a full roster?
It's another really good question, and I don't think there's a perfect answer right now. I don't think anyone knows. And recruiting's a tricky deal. Do you think you're getting great high school players and then he doesn't pan out, or vice versa? He's not going to be good and he's a great player. And same thing with the transfer portal. And I think the portal, unfortunately, I don't always love it, but I think it's something you got to use. The University of Georgia, over the last 5 years, has been probably the best program, and they signed 8 guys out of the portal. So you got to, and I know we're on a whole different level than them. I don't mean it like that, but you got to look at it and see what's in there that can help you. But the thing is we don't just sign guys out of the portal. We obviously do research on them. We talk to people, our connections throughout the country that know these guys, and make sure we're bringing in guys that can help us and not bad guys. And then high school wise is we're going to start to get a little more involved in the high school ranks. Last year we weren't as heavy in the high school ranks, and this year we'll be a little heavier with kind of mix our class with some transfers in high school and hopefully put together a nice class.
And similarly on that topic, I play the college football video game that's out these days, and you get a certain amount of recruiting hours per week, and then you have to play your game and make sure you're getting these guys interested in your school. So what's the real life representation of that? How do you balance recruiting for the next Marauders team versus what's going on Saturday?
It's a really good question, and recruiting is really important in football, and everyone knows that. But I always say this too. Let's make sure we're treating our guys on our roster with the respect that they get. Make sure we're putting the attention on them than a recruit that we might not get. But yeah, there's a balance. And I think the most important thing with that is you got to have some structure. Wednesday night is a night to call recruits. You can't do it every night. You can't, or whatever that night might be. And then Sunday's a night to send some letters or whatever that is, but you got to be able to find time to balance the recruiting aspect of it and obviously your roster you have right now, and the portal has changed. Another thing is that you have to recruit your roster now, whereas prior when I was in college they got you there and they you didn't have the luxury of leaving as easy as you do now, and so you got guys on your roster, you got to make sure that you're treating them right. And that is probably what's it's probably different. And you want to treat your guys right. I don't mean that, but the accountability piece has maybe gone out the window with the portal a little bit. Guys are more free to leave, but you got to make sure you're keeping the guys on your roster happy as well. Otherwise, they can leave at any point. So it's kind of a tricky time.
And you've expressed to me throughout the season that the style of football you like is ugly, hard-nosed football. And the defense that we have here at UMary is, it's catered to that style of play. So how do you make sure that defense maintains that style next year, whereas the offense can progress and maybe catch up to them?
Yeah, no, I think I do. I like winning ugly games. I like grind out. I think it's told Father Wolf, I said the only thing that would have made our game on Saturday better, 15-6 is not a flashy score. There's a grind-out game and a little rainfall, fog. I said the only thing that would have made it better was some mud on the field. That would have been perfect, And but yeah, that's we live in North Dakota, where you're going to have some climate and weather have effect, and kind of Big Ten-ish is kind of what it is. And if you look at a lot of the Big Ten schools that are successful, and obviously Michigan last year, they're built on playing good defense and running the ball and being physical, and North Dakota State, obviously, I know they play indoors, but they fit that They're not in the Big Ten, but they fit that. They're in the Midwest, but they fit that, and so you got to play good defense, and you got to be able to run the ball, and that's where we haven't been able to do since I've been here. We've struggled running the football, and for a lot of reasons, but yeah, the defense. You want a physical, tough defense. I think that that's a good place to start, and we've gotten better. We have a long ways to go in that area as well. But there's times where we've been pretty good on defense, and we need to continue to build and continue to improve on offense.
And where'd that love for ugly football come from? Because I mean, as a player, you were a speedy defensive back. So how does that play into being a lover of ugly football?
I think probably the coaches I played for all were dating back to I played for my uncle, who was a very successful coach in the ranks in Montana, won a lot of state championship, and he was built on toughness and physicality. And then my coach at Montana, Coach Hauk, is, the uglier the game, the better for him. And I was kind of embraced it. And yeah, we'd love to score more points and win. That's fun. Don't get me wrong, but when you can win close games because of your defense and controlling the line of scrimmage and field position, those are fun games to be a part of. And kind of all the coaches I've played for, that's kind of who they are. And so kind of what I kind of embrace, I guess, a little bit. And I think it wins. I think it wins. Good defense and controlling the line of scrimmage and all that stuff is really what it takes.
And since we've got 2 games left in the season, that's a lot of hits over the course of the year for the players to take, and there's injuries and things that you don't expect happen week to week. So what's that part of coaching football like? Where you get an update from a player that can't play, and you have to deal with that. And what are those days like where you have to deal with those surprises?
And that's football, and there's never an excuse. Everyone goes through it. There's so many. One of the issues that's reflected, or that I've noticed since taking the job, is that we do drop off at certain positions, which is everybody, but our depth needs to improve for us to get where we want to get to, because when we've had key injuries, it really the next guys have not been experienced or as quite to the level of play that we've needed, and we've had injuries. Everyone has injuries, but what's been kind of unique with some of our injuries, I feel like they've been kind of at one position group, and that can obviously make it hard. But no, it's part of the game. Tell our guys that you got to live in the training room. You got to fight through things as well. You got to be able to go put your body out there for your buddies, and sometimes you just can't, and sometimes you can. But no, you hate to see our guys, they put a lot into it, and then not be able to play is obviously difficult.
And one last question that I ask every coach at the end: how can people support your program?
I appreciate that. I think one is, we want to win. I think that always helps if people, that will get people there. But just to come to games, I think is more than anything. Come out to the games and watch us play, and hopefully they appreciate that we're going to play a style that's tough and hard-nosed. That's what we preach and talk. But yeah, to come to games and support is more than anything, and do that, and you can start to maybe build some connections or relationships with guys on our team and want to come back. But I appreciate that question. But yeah, more than anything, that would be very, very beneficial, and we'll try to do our part to put a product on the field that people like.
We appreciate the time, Coach, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, Danny. I appreciate you and all you do for us.
Big thanks to Coach Shann Schillinger for joining the UMary Coaches Show this week. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday for a new episode on our social media channels, and go to goumary.com for those links. And make sure you support the UMary football team in their final home game of the season. That is on November 16th against MSU Moorhead. So make sure you come on out to the bowl and support the Marauders. Thank you for listening, and go Marauders.